Hi, hello and welcome. And as we have done just a couple weeks ago, the best Christmas palettes, let's talk today about the best winter palettes. These are again in no particular order, and I have to admit I had a hard time choosing these, and to be honest, I basically just pulled out every single palette in my collection that kind of had a winter vibe, and then I went through them. I even scrolled through Instagram, where I usually post all the looks that I do, and just looked at the looks and my words that I've said about these, looked at my rankings, and still I was not able to just kind of size it down. So I think, if I did not count wrong, we have 30 to talk about, but this time let's start with the honorable mentions of single shadows. The first one that I want to mention as a nice kind of winter vibe-ish color is the Danessa Myricks Infinite Chrome Flakes, specifically in the shade Firefly. I'm not sure how the camera is picking this up, but this is a translucent base that is shifting between greenish, gold, blue, maybe even a bit of purple. This to me looks just like a frozen lake surface. I don't know. I don't know that a frozen lake surface does not look like this, but it reminds me of this, and that's why, just as an honorable mention, beautiful winter shade. When it comes to liquid eyeshadows in the winter, or like in the Christmas video, I had I think a couple more, but winter liquid eyeshadows, I only have two. First is the Beauty Bay liquid eyeshadow in the shade Surreal that came out together with the Metamorphic palette this year, and the other one, I mean, look at it. This is the LH Cosmetics Sparkle Liquid Shadow in the shade Tease. Beautiful liquid eyeshadows, beautiful formulation, love them both. And that, from me, who's not a specific liquid eyeshadow fan, awesome. Honorable mentions, do you need them? Probably not. But if you have them and you're like looking for that winterish look, that's it. But when it comes to palettes, I do have a good mix in front of me out of palettes that released somewhat in 2022, some of what even I think in 2021, I'm pretty sure. But I also have palettes that are very new, that came out this season, and I also have a nice mix between luxury and drugstore priced. You know, not drugstore, but drugstore priced. So I just grab them as they lay in front of me, and the first one that lays here is the Nomad Cosmetic Whistler Snow Lodge. I mean, the name already says it. I think this came out 2022 in the winter time, somewhat January. And besides this row here with the warmth, like let's say like this is a beautiful, soft winter vibe. You can go really deep with this palette. You can stay really light if you stay in this area. Beautiful blues, the golds. It is just like, as the name says, it's a snow lodge. And you know, it's cold. The blue from the sky, the white from the snow. It's glittering kind of, but also the warmth maybe from a fireplace that you have at your little lodge. The vibe is there. Really beautiful palette. One of the better ones from Nomad Cosmetics, to be honest. Another indie brand that actually did not intend to do this as a winter palette. This is more a summer release, or I think summer fall, but it came out this year. And I'm talking about the Gloss Gods Cosmetic The Color of Rain palette. I know it's not really winter themed, but look inside of this palette. This is winter themed, in my opinion. This is a perfect frosty winter vibe, and I absolutely adore this genius move that as the only matte in this palette that you have, you get a black. And this is not a very opaque black, I'm honest with you. This is a soft black. You can build this up, and what I love to do with this palette actually is I use the black maybe on the outer V area just, and I like to build this up on the most outer part where I want to have the most dark. Then I just flick it in and I just try to create the gradient from black into my skin color. And then I use only one shade of this palette, because you have this black base here on the outer lid area. This shade will turn into 3 different ones. Beautiful formulation. I'm a big fan of Gloss Gods Cosmetics, to be honest. And Gloss Gods, if you see this, oh please, let's work together. I applied for your program because I am such a big fan of those. And the only downside I have to say is this, I think, is discontinued. But if you have it, if you have this palette, pull it out, do your winter look. It's beautiful. Just a little reminder that this beauty exists. A little quad that came out this year and is definitely in the luxury category, the Tom Ford Lumiere Dive. Yeah, Lumiere Dive. This is the definition of a cool toned winter look. I mean, look at this. This palette exceeded my expectations 100 times. I was not expecting to be able to create a look with this that I love. I'm just specifically saying a look because it's a quad, it's a Tom Ford quad. Don't expect a lot of variety, but the look that you can create with this is an absolute winter safe place. And these two shimmers are so impactful. I was not expecting this from a brand like Tom Ford. But it is also 90 money, so up to you if this is worth to you. If I know what I know now, would I buy this again? Actually, yes, because this is also one of the better, or like one of the best Tom Ford formulation in a quad. A cheaper palette and more commonly known, I think in my opinion, is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Cosmos palette. And when we look at the palettes that I just showed you, they're like either blue toned or very cool toned. The Cosmos palette, I don't know what exactly is wintry for me, but I think it's just the combination of impactful mattes that with their warm tones kind of mimic this winter sun, or maybe the warmth when you get home and it's like super cold outside and you get a little bit flushed or so. And then you have these ethereal shimmers. I love this combo. The Cosmos palette is the best of the new Natasha Denona palettes. I said it back then when it launched in summer, and I still stand by this opinion today. Beautiful palette. I mean, the most obvious reason why this is winter to me is probably Supercluster because it is blue, but it's just a combo out of everything that makes this a soft approach on a winter palette without this intense blue that a lot of people are afraid of, which I can understand. Blue is a loud color and it's not as easy to work with as, for example, maybe a green. Blend Bunny Lure palette should not be missed in this video. This technically is not really what I understand as the winter palette, but this actually covers a winter or like cold time phenomenon that you have. And to be honest, when I look at this palette, I see northern lights. This is what I get. And northern lights, I always connect with snow, with the cold when I was in Scandinavia. This is what the sky looked like. This is the feeling that I got, and everything in this palette is beautiful. If you are a lover of matte eye looks and you maybe want to incorporate something like the Firefly one or one of these liquid shadows with a palette like this, you are definitely a winner in this category. Beautiful formulation. The shimmers are so-so from Blend Bunny. Their strength is definitely more in the mattes. You probably are sitting here and be like, when the fuck is she going to talk about Odins Eye? I actually have two Odins Eye palettes that, in my opinion, do describe a bit of the winter. And the first one being the new Hey Reindeer palette. I know, sounds quite weird because a lot of people probably would have said it's a snow dream. To me, it's the Hey Reindeer palette that resembles of winter much more than the snow dream, in my opinion. I don't know what exactly it is, but when I think of winter, I think of this palette. When it comes to Odins Eye, when I have to decide between this and the other one. Beautiful formulation. I actually love this palette much more than I thought. Should you run out and buy the new collection from Odins Eye? Definitely not. But if you have it, please keep in mind this is not only a Christmas palette. This can be used all year round, and this resembles also as a beautiful winter themed palette. Let's just bring Odins Eye out of the way. The second one is actually a Halloween palette, but the Little Ghost palette has winter vibes too. it is what it is. It's the blues, the purples, the shimmers, the yellow, like again, sun hitting snow, beautiful. Everything just works really, really well on this palette, and I love this one more than the Hey Reindeer, but it's also like more impactful. It's not so pastel-y. And the last Odins Eye palette, and you probably know that I have to mention this, of course, the Christmas Eve one. I did my winter look with this palette, and do I have to say anything else? No, I don't think. I think you understood now what exactly a winter theme is for me. It's this. Although I have to admit that, again, just in my Christmas video, the last palette that I'm going to mention is my favorite winter palette, and this might be surprising to you. Unfortunately, this now is finally sold out. That means Odins Eye already announced they will this time not be able to bring it back. So breathe, calm, the world will keep on spinning. It's not the end of the world if you didn't grab this palette. There will be much more beautiful ones. Let's talk about an older palette that is a different kind of winter vibe. Not the blue one that we just saw over and over and over again. You just now see what the theme is. This is a more different winter vibe in the sense of, you know, maybe you go outside and then you come in and your skin just flushes in these rosy tones. You have this rosy nose, maybe even the eyes. If you're like me, even my eyelids turn a bit reddish when it's very, very cold and I get back inside. And with this vibe that I just described, I had one palette in mind. Huda Beauty Rose Quartz is a beautiful winter palette for me. Completely different vibe because of all the pinks and the cool tones, but winter vibe. I enjoy this palette all year round, I'm honest with you, but I feel drawn the most to it when the temperature is sinking. When we have -degrees out there, this is the soft, feminine, but still kind of intense, cool look. We have only 4 palettes left, and let's start with the biggest one. You've seen now the blues. You've seen them. And you might sitting in this video and be like, I don't want to have this mix. I don't want to have a palette like, for example, the Christmas Eve or the Lure, where you have different colors. Maybe you are the one who is craving a monochromatic winter ice blue palette. And I have 2 options for you to choose from. The first one is the definition of monochromatic blues. Or you know what? No, it's actually only that one. I think the other one is not as monochromatic. No, it isn't. But Beauty Bay. This is the Midnight palette. I do have the big 42 pan version of this, and come on. Ice, winter, lights, sun rising, snow, iced waters. Everything is just checked. Tick, tick, tick. Beautiful winter palette, beautiful ice palette, but beautiful all year round, and I'm really a big fan of Beauty Bay formulations. Another Beauty Bay palette that came out this year really, really blew my mind. I was not expecting this. When I saw the palette, I immediately set an alarm in my calendar because I wanted to order this no matter what cost. And when I got it and when I tried it, I completely forgot all the hassle that I had with this delivery because they fucked up my package, and I actually already forgot what exactly happened because this palette just healed my wounds. The Beauty Bay Metamorphic palette. I hate with a passion this packaging because it just opens like this. I hate it because you cannot clap it all the way to the back because otherwise it will not close properly. So let me show you first up this row. Let me now show you this row. Delicious. And now both together. How can you not love this palette? There is just no possible way. You have to love this palette if you love a winter vibe, if you love ethereal purples, midnights, blues, and icy vibes. Beautiful. And I immediately want to wash off the makeup that I wear right now and put this on, but I don't have time to do so. The second to last palette I want to mention is actually not really meant for the winter because it was supposed to be a light summer palette. And I agree on that, but I also have to say that the vibe that I get from these shades, maybe with the exception of a couple in there, is more wintry than summery. I'm talking about the Isaya Beauty Industrial 2.0 palette. Let me open that. First of all, I'm probably a bit biased because you know by this moment that I am a big fan of Isaya French herself. I would buy everything that she releases. But I also have to admit that this palette and the Beauty Bay Metamorphosis, they are kind of similar, and when I did my review on this palette I also compared swatches here inside, but there's actually only one shade that is similar to the Metamorphic. So it's probably more so the pan size or the pan shapes than the actual colors. And we're not talking quality, like Isaya has a very different quality than Beauty Bay. It's not comparable. Both good at their own levels, but not comparable. And in my opinion, if you cross out the very warm like coppers in here, this is a winter vibe. Even with the green, I just see like melting snow and the little bit of grass that is peeking through that has just the teensiest bit left of green inside. That is what I see here. It's a frozen field with a bit of grass peeking through. You know what I mean? I'm so bad at describing. I mean, get to the point, Ella. Stop rambling. Just show us the palette that we need to buy when they restock in January. And it hurts my feelings because I am personally on a no-buy, and a lot of you also said that you are joining me on that no-buy. But if you want to allow yourself one single exception, one kind of little treat because you made it all through December without buying anything, I would say it's this one. The Cosmic Brushes Winter Wonderland. By the time you see this specific video here, you have already seen my eyeshadow palette ranking. Then you know more than I do now, because by the time that I filmed this video here, I have not ranked them yet. So that means this could be number 1, could be number 2 or 3, I'm not sure. But I know by now that this is very high up there. And when I got this, I used it 2 times in a row. Usually with palettes, when I get them new, I use them for 1 time. Then I just want to settle down my thoughts a bit, and then I use them usually like in the next week to form my opinion for the future. With this palette, I fell in love so hard and heavy that I had to use it 2 days in a row, and I am pretty sure by the time you see this video, I've used this palette a couple times again, and it's probably looking much more destroyed than it does now. This formulation is the absolute best of the bestest here in all of those. And again, you have seen the rankings, so maybe this is number 1. I think currently, as I'm filming this, which is by the way December 9th, Odins Eye Christmas Eve is my favorite still, because of the variation, but I wanted, or I will use this a bit more to kind of balance my opinion. But when it comes only to winter palettes, this with no doubt is the best winter palette that I own. It's the only winter palette I would recommend to you. If you ask me, out of those 13 palettes, was it 13? That I just showed you, which one should you buy? It's this one. And it's the only palette that I would accept if you break your no-buy for. I would totally accept that. But let me please know down below, what is your favorite winter palette? What do you understand of a winter palette? What is the winter vibe that you want to get when you do seasonal makeup? Let us know down below. Please do not forget to subscribe, because even though we are kind of heading towards the end of Ellamas, I mean, I will not end the channel afterwards, so Ellamas will just like smoothly head into January, and you will get even a video on January 1st already. So I might slow down afterwards, but the fun videos will continue, just not in that frequency. I hope you like this. Let me know your feedback down below. Let me know what I just asked you. If you forgot, the question is also in the info box. Should have said this in the earlier videos too. Oh, doesn't matter. But make sure you're subscribed so I can see you tomorrow.